Now for those who didn't play TDS back then, that includes me, the main game modes were very different. You're probably familiar with there being 3 or 5 game modes depending on where you started or where you quit. But there was actually a 4th game mode that is now removed, Golden Mode. It's easier than Fallen but still harder than the rest. So in this video, I will go back in time as a level 82 player to beat the mode, obviously with my older brother. After finding the perfect map to do this mode on, it was time for us to vote for Golden Mode. My brother placed an Enforcer and I placed a John Tower. First few waves were easy until the slows, or whatever they were called, came out, each having 35 health. Even after they reached the John Tower, as a backup, we still ended up leaking, and it happened again and again. And so we realized that John was not going to be very useful. So instead, I replaced John with a Pyromancer who turned out to be way better than him, as he not only had better crowd control, but could also slow zombies too. My brother sold his Enforcer to get a minigunner, and that helped us be able to kill the abnormal boss with 200 HP. The next few waves were easy, until they brought out the Goldens. But we didn't have Rocketeers, so that wouldn't be a big problem. We would have to prepare a max level Enforcer just in case for the chain boss who has 2,500 HP, and prepare to have lots of damage just for him. By the time he came out, we had a turret, commander, minigunner, and a pyro just in case he made it this far, and 2 outlaws. He died very easily and we didn't even need the SWAT van. Since the SWAT van was already out, it hit the chain box and got shredded easily. The shadow boss came out and it had 1,000 health. You guys may not see it, but I clicked on it and it showed he did have that much HP. The next few waves weren't very hard and actually very easy with our defenses. On wave 29 had the giant boss, but we started lagging a bit. And another SWAT van came out since that 600 damage will be very useful as a last resort option. Wave 30 had the tank and he looks very goofy. I heard that he actually has the stun ability where he throws boulders at your towers. And I heard that the way to counter them is by standing in front of your tower so they don't get stunned. I tried that and they got stunned anyway. I noticed that the tank was still pretty fast as an enemy with 12,000 health, but still stood no chance against our defenses.
Strike force moving out.
The game tried to throw us off with another tank, but I used my commander's Call of Arms ability. Now, before you try to attack me in the comments letting me know that I could spam commanders and turn ranger into a minigun, I tried it before and the fire rate didn't increase, meaning that I would have to resort to continuing chaining. I started panicking because I realized that this tank is pretty much invincible and is pushing very hard, allowing the other insanely tanky enemies to leak through, causing more problems. Luckily, he finally died and it was time to clear out the rest of the chain bosses that weren't that big of a threat. I thought they would be. My brother got an extra Enforcer just in case, and we got overwhelmed again by tanks and the other tanky guys, while I got another commander. And turns out those 2 SWAT vans really helped this time and it was less risky. I decided to max out my turret now that we had enough money, and now these next waves will be easy again. On wave 36, there were 2 summoner bosses that I thought weren't going to be very big of a deal, because I thought they would be as weak as they were in Fallen mode. But I looked closer at their HP and realized they each had 15,000 health. Not only that, but they were pretty fast too for something with that much health. With the same health as the Gravekeeper, by the way. My brother started placing maxed out minigunners and I told him to start spamming Enforcers. Not for the damage, but their SWAT vans. Thankfully, the first one died, but bad news, the first one finally died. We still had an extra 15,000 health to deal with. I placed another pyro to slow down the chunky guy, and the vans finally came and we barely killed him. Now we have to deal with all these boomers and giant bosses along with the rest. Luckily, the enforcers were placed down just in case we wouldn't have enough DPS. The final wave came, and as you can see, my brother spammed outlaws while I focused on DPS. I noticed that the final wave had the same theme as Fallen King's theme. Yeah, that's all. The Gold Titan finally came out, and he had 80,000 health. That's a lot, I guess. Anyways, my brother started spamming the swap bands, and I started selling my farm so I could get more money to max out my outlaws and commanders. I used the rest of my money on a turret for extra DPS. And I tried to use my commander, but it didn't work after all the towers were undone. All the DPS were now focused onto him, and he started getting shredded extremely fast. And so he died, and that's how my brother and I got the badge. I felt like including this footage of me getting Swarmer for a video that I will soon upload. My friends kept on telling me to join them to try to beat all 4 nights with them. The problem is, I still haven't beat night 1 yet. So what's the most logical way to beat Jax? That's right, using Swarmer. So after we trolled someone, which I'm sorry if you see this video. Anyways, my 2 friends, Skids and the guy you met in my last video, simple. Anyways, we got in and they told me that all I had to do was just spam level 2 snipers and max them all out. Seems simple. Maybe because I was gonna get absolutely carried in this event. As the game started, I noticed that this is the same song they use in the current Duck event at the time I am making this video, which is April 2026. Just have a listen. I kept on trying to find cliff space and started to realize how absolutely buns these cliff options are. While trying to find areas to place my snipers, I noticed how powerful Archer's penetration ability is. Simple soon got 2 swarmers to deal some additional damage to the enemies. I placed more snipers in areas where I didn't even think the enemies would even reach, but I just did what I was told. Anyways, the bunnies came out and they died easily, but the silver bunny pushed pretty far because of his shield that only made towers do 2 damage. He died nonetheless. This whole clip is just sniper, swarmer, and archer spam. Nothing special. We ended up encountering a bear who could heal HP though. Anyways, wave 15 and Ducky Doom finally came out. But he was just gonna die easily again with 100,000 health. After the silver bunny died or whatever his name was, it was time for the boss to die too. It may not look much, that's even what I thought. But as he kept on stunning our towers, I noticed that we were doing pretty good damage to him. Just bit by bit, we were slowly chipping away his health. After a pretty boring fight, the boss finally died and I got Swarmer. Nice.